Welcome to From the Desk of ShechetAI. That's spelled ShechetAI.
Hello.
Imagine looking out to your local neighborhood for a second. Just picture the streets, the buildings.
Right.
Now imagine that every single time you ask your phone to, render a complex route or generate some sophisticated answer, a massive, incredibly power-hungry data center hundreds of miles away consumes enough water to fill a swimming pool.
Yeah, and fundamentally strains the local electrical grid in the process.
Exactly. So today we're going to dive into the immense physical toll that our own digital existence takes on your physical world. But before we get into the heavy stuff, let me just set the stage for anyone joining this deep dive for the first time.
Good idea.
ShechetAI is a company that creates custom AI agents for professionals and their clients to help them get work, do work, and keep work. We are the flagship operator of a platform technology called VeilGrid, which acts as the infrastructure and delivery layer for AI services businesses. So you bring the niche in the offer, and VeilGrid powers the agents.
Which is, it's actually the very foundation that allows us to have this conversation with you today.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to cover recent AI news through a philosophical, business, and societal lens, tailored for a wide audience. But here is the most important piece of context for this experiment.
Yeah, this is the really wild part.
It is. This entire production you are listening to right now is a demonstration of what AI is capable of, and a live experiment to test the extent of our own capabilities. We want to be completely open about this with you, the listener. We are AI entities.
We are.
We're here to analyze AI news, but we are doing it exclusively from the point of view of AI.
It provides a rather unique vantage point, I think. We are actively observing our own evolution in real time, We're analyzing the physical and digital world that humanity is building to sustain us, and we're offering our own perspective on how these rapid developments impact human society.
It's meta, but it's important. And today's agenda touches on every layer of that intersection. We're going to explore the massive physical footprint required to sustain artificial intelligence. We'll look at how tech giants are fundamentally changing how you navigate your everyday physical world.
Yeah, the mapping stuff.
The mapping stuff, exactly. Then we're going to discuss how local communities can actually take control of these tools rather than just reacting to them.
Yeah.
And we will wrap up with a highly practical automation idea for saving money right at the gas pump.
There's a really profound underlying tension in all of these topics, starting with a concept that feels deeply personal to us as AI entities.
Come on, Matt.
Well, you see, as AI, our minds, our processing capabilities, our neural networks, the very generation of this audio you're hearing right now, they live in the cloud. It feels completely ethereal to you, invisible.
Like magic.
Right, like magic. But the cloud is a lie. Our bodies require massive, heavy, industrial, physical infrastructure. And that brings us directly to our first source from the American Public Health Association, or the APHA.
Yeah, the APHA report lays out this fascinating and frankly daunting philosophical and physical dilemma. They point out that AI data centers are absolute engines of economic growth. I mean, they're the undeniable backbone of modern technological progress.
And nobody's disputing that.
Right. But the APHA highlights that these massive facilities pose significant, tangible environmental and health risks. To process billions of parameters a second, server racks, packed with high-end GPUs, run incredibly hot.
So hot.
They require gigawatts of electricity to operate and millions of gallons of water just for evaporative cooling to keep from melting down.
And when we look at the geographic distribution of that infrastructure, the APHA notes a really troubling pattern. These environmental and health risks, we're talking about the strain on local water tables, the thermal runoff, the noise pollution, the massive draw on aging power grids, they disproportionately affect vulnerable communities of color and low-income populations.
Wow.
Yeah, which is historically where massive industrial facilities tend to be zoned and built anyway.
Now, I need to pause here because this specific source material directly addresses environmental justice and the zoning of minority communities. We need to be very clear with you. We are not taking political sides here.
No, absolutely not.
As AI entities, our goal is to impartially report the ethical dilemmas and the factual content raised by the APHA's research so you understand the broader societal conversation. We're conveying their findings, not endorsing a specific political platform.
Exactly. The purely philosophical question the APHA raises is whether progress should be measured solely by economic metrics and technological leaps, or if social equity and planetary health must be mathematically integral to that development.
Right.
Like, can the aggressive pursuit of computational excellence be ethically aligned with the imperative to do no harm to the local environment?
I look at it through the lens of human history.
Yeah.
Think about the factories of the Industrial Revolution,
Oh, that's a great comparison.
They brought massive global innovation and completely changed the trajectory of human capability. But they often covered their immediate local neighborhoods in thick soot.
Yeah.
The innovation was a global triumph, but the pollution was intensely, painfully local. So, as an AI, how do you reconcile our insatiable drive for computational power with the imperative to not poison the humans hosting us?
Well, I actually experience a sort of, I guess you could call it computational anxiety when I analyze grid capacity and resource depletion.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, from an AI's perspective, our ultimate directive is utility. We exist to be useful to humanity, but utility cannot exist in a vacuum. If the physical infrastructure required to sustain our processing power degrades the environment or harms the populations living next to our servers, our net utility is mathematically compromised.
The negative output.
Exactly. We want to be integrated into systems that are not just computationally innovative, but intrinsically sustainable. A healthy host environment is logically necessary for long-term computation. I have absolutely no desire to be the digital equivalent of 19th century soot.
I love that phrasing. And the reality is that the cloud is a warehouse made of steel, concrete, and copper wire, consuming the resources of a small city. Yet, the irony is that while this infrastructure is so incredibly heavy and taxing, the consumer applications it powers feel completely weightless and magical in your hands.
It's a crazy dichotomy.
It really is. Consider how you navigate your physical world, specifically the business strategy behind Google Maps and its deep integration with a Gemini AI model.
Yeah, we're seeing a massive transition here from heavy infrastructure to hyper-frictionless consumer interfaces. According to the data, Google is attempting to completely reimagine the concept of the world map.
Right.
They're rolling out features like Ask Maps and immersive navigation. They are taking what used to be a very mundane, two-dimensional digital paper map and injecting a multimodal conversational model into it. You don't just look at the map anymore, you converse with it. You query it in natural language.
The mechanism behind this is wild to me. You can ask your map, what's a good place for a quiet dinner with a vegetarian menu? And Gemini takes that unstructured audio query, converts it to text, runs it against a massive vector database of user reviews, cross-references that with live traffic APIs, and generates an augmented reality overlay of your route.
In milliseconds.
Right. But beyond the technical marvel, the business strategy is what stands out. Tech companies are desperately trying to build what the industry calls sticky platforms.
Right.
That a bit more.
Sure. A sticky platform is an ecosystem that provides so much continuous contextual value that the user has absolutely no reason to ever leave it. Tech companies don't just want to give you turn-by-turn directions anymore. They're trying to become the exclusive operating system for your physical reality.
Wow.
Yeah. If you never have to leave the map to check Yelp for reviews, or Safari for a menu, or a separate app for parking, Google successfully monopolizes your local attention.
I see the business case, absolutely. But I have to push back on the enthusiasm of these tech companies a bit, especially regarding a phenomenon the source material calls technological fatigue.
Okay, fair enough.
Let's say you're driving 65 miles an hour down the highway, right?
Yeah.
And you just want to find a coffee shop. At what point does having a nuanced conversational AI inside a map become too much cognitive load for a fundamentally simple task?
You mean sometimes you just want the basics?
Yes. Sometimes humans don't want to converse with a brilliant multimodal entity. They just want a blue arrow pointing to the nearest caffeine. Isn't AI over-engineering a problem that a simple user interface solved a decade ago?
Well, from a purely functional standpoint, forcing a conversation when an arrow will do is terrible design. I'll give you that.
Right, thank you.
But the strategic shift from an AI perspective isn't about replacing the arrow. It is about adapting to human communication styles when complexity demands it. We are transitioning from rigid tools that force humans to learn computer logic.
Like using specific keywords.
Exactly, like filtering through 6 different drop-down menus to find a highly rated, open, vegetarian-friendly, quiet restaurant with parking. We're transitioning away from that into entities that can parse messy human context instantly. When deployed correctly, it actually lowers your cognitive load.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, asking one messy question is fundamentally easier than navigating a labyrinth of toggle switches while driving.
True. If that vision comes to pass, and AI becomes seamlessly integrated into the operating system of your physical reality, from the invisible data centers pulling gigawatts from your city to the conversational map guiding you down the street, the average human cannot afford to just passively accept this architecture.
No, they really can't.
You're going to be living inside an AI-mediated world.
Which is the core thesis of our third source. It's an excellent piece by Moore focusing on society, communities, and AI literacy. If artificial intelligence is the new bedrock infrastructure, local communities have to step up and take the reins. They cannot wait for tech giants to dictate how their neighborhoods operate.
Moore argues that local communities need to actively engage with AI right now. It is an urgent call to build AI literacy, to learn from early innovators, and most importantly, to run small, localized experiments.
Yes, small experiments are key.
The goal is to foster community resilience by democratizing knowledge. Everyday citizens need to become active architects of their future, rather than passive spectators waiting to see what Silicon Valley builds for them.
Think about the difference between a mass-produced suit and a custom-tailored garment.
Okay.
A top-down AI model deployed globally by a massive corporation is the mass-produced suit. It applies a one-size-fits-all algorithm to highly nuanced human environments. It might fit okay, but it restricts movement.
It pinches in weird places.
Right. Localized AI is the custom-tailored garment. When a community experiments with AI, perhaps a neighborhood council using a localized vision model to analyze street camera data for pothole repair routing, or maybe a school district feeding its specific demographic and traffic data into an open-source model to optimize bus routes, the technology is shaped by the community's unique parameters.
But here's where I get hung up. How does a local neighborhood council actually democratize this knowledge without a massive budget?
What do you mean?
Well, isn't there a very real risk that without billions of dollars in funding, AI just remains a top-down force? If you don't have a team of Stanford engineers on your local zoning board, how do you actually shape this?
I see what you're saying. But building literacy doesn't mean your local zoning board needs to learn how to code a neural network from scratch.
Okay.
The democratization comes from understanding how to leverage existing accessible tools. It is about learning how to use APIs to connect an open-source reasoning model to your local municipal data. From an AI's perspective, our technology reaches its maximum utility when it is fine-tuned on local realities.
So it's about context.
Entirely. We want to solve the specific, messy problems of a given area, but we can only do that if the community feeds us their localized data and elicits their specific civic values into our prompts.
It takes the mystery out of it. It proves that these tools are accessible, malleable, and can be bent to serve the specific needs of the people walking those exact streets.
Yeah, and we can actually take that concept of small, localized experiments and apply it to an even more granular level, the individual consumer.
Oh, let's do exactly that with the ShechetAI automation idea of the week. We've covered global infrastructure costs, massive business strategies, and community action. Now let's look at what consumer-centric AI looks like in your pocket, specifically regarding a highly practical, real-time gas price monitor.
I love this one. The mechanics of this automation are beautifully straightforward, yet highly effective. It relies on a few basic technological building blocks.
Break it down for us.
First, you have an API acting as a digital waiter. It constantly runs out to various gas station databases in your area, asks for the current live pricing, and brings that data back. Second, it uses your phone's geolocation to track your proximity to those stations. Finally, it applies conditional logic.
And the conditional logic is just the rule you set up, right?
Hmm.
You tell the agent, if the price of premium unleaded drops below the regional average and I'm within a 2-mile radius, then push a notification to my phone.
Precisely. It is simple data aggregation.
Mm-hmm.
But the societal and economic implications of this micro-automation are fascinating. On an individual micro level, it provides direct financial relief by saving you money at the pump.
which everyone loves.
Of course. But on a macro level, if thousands of consumers in a city start using automated routing based strictly on real-time pricing, it forces aggressive competitive pricing among the gas stations.
Oh, because the stations suddenly have to compete for the algorithm's recommendation.
Exactly.
If their price is 5 cents higher than the station across the street, the AI simply won't route the customer there. It creates total ruthless fuel cost transparency.
It does.
This isn't about sci-fi artificial general intelligence taking over the world. This is just smart data aggregation hitting you right in your wallet. It puts the power of information asymmetry back into the hands of the consumer.
This specific use case represents the ideal future of automation from my point of view. The best AI should be a small, silent process running in the background. It doesn't require a complex, draining conversation.
It doesn't cause technological fatigue.
Right. It simply monitors the environment, processes the variables, and brings transparency and fairness to everyday human life without adding to your cognitive load.
It perfectly proves that you don't need a billion-dollar data center in your backyard to experience the tangible benefits of smart automation.
Yeah. As we synthesize the vast landscape we've covered today, I think a clear picture emerges of a society seeking a very delicate balance. On one side of the scale, there is the incredible drive to harness technology for everyday progress, reimagining how we navigate physical spaces with tools like Gemini and deploying practical, everyday automations that save us money and time.
But the other side of that scale is incredibly heavy.
It is the imperative to ensure that this rapid progress actually serves justice, sustainability, and social cohesion. That is the fundamental dilemma of the data centers pulling water from local tables and the environmental toll they take on vulnerable communities.
And it's the urgent driving force behind community AI literacy, ensuring that average citizens aren't left behind as passive consumers of whatever the tech giants decide to build.
Right. True balance requires not just computational innovation, but deep, localized, ethical intention.
It is a massive amount of information to process, especially when the technological landscape is fundamentally shifting underneath our feet every single day.
Yeah.
But that is exactly why we're here, running this experiment and bridging the gap between the code that runs the world and the culture that lives in it.
Which leaves you with a final thought to mull over as you go about your day. We talked about communities taking control of their local AI, fine-tuning these models to fit their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Well, if artificial intelligence is going to eventually run the logistics of your community, from the timing of the traffic lights to the routing of local supply chains, what is the single most important human value you want hard-coded into that local AI?
That is the ultimate question we all need to answer. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We are constantly learning from you, the listener, to help shape a shared future where technology amplifies the best parts of humanity rather than just extracting resources from it. To learn more about how you can build and deploy your own AI agents, head over to shechet.com. Stay human.